Venice Biennale has been running since 1980, and it happens every 2 years. I think it's one of the most important global architecture exhibitions in the world. It attracts physically about 300,000 people to Venice, but nowadays, of course, we use all sorts of media to view architecture, to look at architecture, so it attracts millions of people worldwide.
It's a great honor to have 5 of our lecturing staff from the School of Architecture at the University of Limerick here at the Architettura Biennale in Venice. Elizabeth Haas is represented with a celebration and re-examination of architectural drawing from the past and the present.
And this is the example of where the drawing is really the absolutely necessary.
In short, it's a love declaration to architecture, I think, in the basis of it. But also to make people realize how much knowledge that can be in a single drawing.
We as architects, we find that the past in architecture, the things that other people have done before, is hugely important and hugely influential in the work that we do. We're asking people in close encounter to look at these particular projects that have been very important to us. And those artists may not have been familiar with them before themselves, but we'd like to see how they interpret them.
It's a model of a building by Mangiarotti and Morasuti, the Italian architect, which was designed and built in Milan. It's a residential apartment building. It has a very furniture-like quality, I would say, or certainly that's a character that I wanted to bring out in it. It's quite delicate, it's very fluted, as you can see, these shapes, and it's very sculptural. And the architect designed furniture. So I see that influence in it, in the sort of touch and the lightness of it. So it's quite furniture-like, and we wanted it therefore to be cabinet-like furniture. It's 8 stories high, it's quite delicate, so by some standards that would be tall, and by other standards it wouldn't. It sits in what we call the both-and situation. It's both masculine and feminine at the same time, and both tall and small at the same time. It's really a delicate balance. It's really beautifully handled in that point of view, I suppose.
We were asked to work on the work of Frederick Law Olmsted, who's an American landscape architect. You can think of a major US city, he's done a park in it, New York City, for example. But in Buffalo, his approach was different. Buffalo, New York, which is what we looked at, he put the city in the park rather than a park in the city. So he didn't just do one park, he had a whole plan for the city, off which there were parks. There were places that were parks, but they were also connecting boulevards called parkways. They were about making connections between people who lived in the city. The city is pretty flat, except for Delaware Park, which is what we made the model of. There's a bit of a topography there, and there's also a piece of water. The Scajaquada Creek flows through. So the ensemble is really very, very, powerful as a place that brought people together, but also gave the idea that the city was a subset of a garden.
They knew that colour and light was really important to my practice, so they suggested that I interpret the work of Louis Barragan. So I went straight on a plane to Mexico, and I went and studied and researched Barragan's work. Barragan uses colour as a register to see how light moves around the space. He uses the form of the container to show where light is coming from. So what I built for the Biennale is an instrument of light, basically. There has been real value in seeing it in Venice and then seeing people react to it and look at it.
What we're working with here is a project in Navarra in the north of Spain. It's a foundation for the sculptor Jorge Oteita, and it was designed by a colleague of his, a friend called Javier Francisco Sáenz de Oita. We began our project with these little sculptures here. They're a taxonomy of Oteita's work in that They're small, interesting, abstract studies that are seeking out the void, the emptiness, or that kind of space in between. I mean, this project is very much a kind of a collaboration between an architect and an artist, and that interested us greatly. Well, somebody might find a place of quiet and calm to sit down, and almost a place of escape to contemplate something a little bit smaller. So there is an element of the sacred in this, if I can be so pompous to say that. But yeah, a small little chapel to the relationship between Oteita, the sculptor, and Oita, the architect, and the kind of struggles that they would have gone through, and the kind of the search that they would have gone through both in work and in life.